Hi, this is Barrington Miller. I'm here with Paul Duffy, President and co-founder of NexTech Solutions AR. We are here at the top of the First Canadian Place, 72nd floor, for another episode of Hashtag Finance. And today we are dealing with augmented reality. As you can see, we're kicking it old school. This is how we used to change reality. So this is me for the time being. Welcome to the show.
Okay, thanks. That was pretty old school.
Yeah. NexTech AR Solutions. You have been trading on the CSE since October 2018.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about NexTech.
Okay, great. Well, so the firm's NexTech AR Solutions Corp, great company, founded about 6 months before we went public, first part of the 2018 timeframe. The sole vision of the business was to democratize augmented reality. We brand around ARitizing, hopeful to be the Kleenex, if you would, of tissue, the Xerox of the photocopier. But it's our position, the long ball, that there probably will not be a, I'll call it space on the planet, that at some future point in time, certainly within our lifetime, that has not been ARitized. In other words, there has not been some sort of holographic digital equivalent or holographic capability brought into that location for all variety of purposes. Could be for retail, could be for education, and for entertainment. So we set about building and constructing a very, what I would call sophisticated and scalable stack of technology. In today's terms, you would think of it as a SaaS model, where you as a user can very easily upload literally a model of virtually any product, put it into the platform, crunch, and we send back two wonderful things. The first is an embed code. That is a small bit of JavaScript with a pretty picture, but it does remarkable stuff. It allows you to embed that embed code, much like a YouTube video, into any piece of IP-enabled content. So this could be your blog post, it could be your product page, your photo carousel on your product page, it could be a social media post, LinkedIn, Facebook, etc. It would also allow you to go in and embed it into things like your PDFs, your presentations, right? Where at any point through your web browser, you're able to literally ARitize or beam in a holographic twin of that product.
Now, this sounds very futuristic, but it's not. It is present. And explain to a little bit of to the users, how long will this process take, or from your end? So I have, my hashtag finance mug, and we want to display information more about hashtag finance. How can you take us through
Great
that?
question, absolutely. So let's go on the assumption today that this mug with your branding is available in a 3D file, in a 3D model. You would literally, like you would an MP4 video, you would upload it to the ARitize.com platform. It would take probably about 20 seconds, and we would kick back to you that embed code. It's remarkable. And I'm just getting started. The embed code is our non-app delivery, which hits approximately 4.5 billion smartphones today, works across every iOS and Android device, including tablets. It will run on any browser on the computer. So literally every PC, Mac that's out there can run this, okay? And as the glasses become more and more available, the AR smart glasses, it will run on those as well. More importantly, that originating file, and this again is central to our value prop about ARitizing the world, you can then put into the .NTAR file format that we have created through Unity. We have a free Unity plugin that we can actually take you as a hologram, bring you in either as a 2D file or a 3D model, line you up against the holographic equivalent of this mug, and we can have you as a brand ambassador or an educator train the viewer or the learner at that point in time about the product. And again, all of this takes literally either seconds to days.
That's incredible. Yeah. Can you explain a little bit to our our listeners, the difference between augmented reality and virtual reality?
Sure, love to. So in the world of virtual reality, and I think that's what I would say the masses are a little bit more used to seeing, it's in the zeitgeist. You've got this idea of full enclosure of the experience. So, and to do that, you typically have a headset that's mounted in front of you, blocking out everything. And then you are simulating a virtual world or a virtual environment 360 degrees.
Right.
So the entire room that we're in now is virtual. Location-based technologies can allow you to move through that space, and as you're moving through it, events and triggers can occur, and it becomes a little bit more believable, and it's very immersive. So think of it in the context of a fully enclosed virtual environment. Augmented reality, on the other hand, is much like it is described. We're augmenting your existing reality by dropping in digital or holographic components into the physical space. So rather than recreate the entire virtual environment, we're simply augmenting portions of it with digital holograms, digital content.
And what is the market potential for this space? It sounds like it's
yeah,
going to be massive.
It is. I mean, it's hard to, let me say, put a fine number on it. It is growing. I mean, I run the revenue side of the business, so I speak to prospects and subscribers every day. It's galloping in awareness and capability. If you read Statistica and other research, eMarketer, they're purporting 200 plus billion in market size by 2022, 2023.
There was a Gardner report.
Yes, I was going to cite that. So, today, Statistica will say something like, if we throw everything in the kitchen sink into the world of AR, we're at about a 10 or $15 billion size. But if we take all the vectors and we measure them, we're at about, call it 200 billion by 2023, which is extraordinary growth. Gartner research came out about 90 days ago with what we thought was a very, very strong and a great data point for us, because it was validating what we were seeing in the market just by selling our ARitized platform.
Right.
And that is that they predict that as they go through 2020, there will be over 100 million users of augmented reality for retail. So in other words, the common layperson will utilize augmented reality, typically in the form of your smartphone, right, mobile AR, to actually determine should they buy a product.
Now, what's the differentiator? Because I'm sure there are other AR companies that are coming online. And what's your differentiator? What's NexTech's?
Well, yeah, that's a great question. So central to all of it is we want to ARitize the world, right? And so to do that, you've really got to democratize and normalize the use of AR in everyday life. And so our value proposition, which is incredibly unique, is we're able to do that. Nobody can take that cup that we just talked about, crunch it out in 20 to 30 seconds with an embed code that'll allow you to place it, to try it, to put it across all forms of your media, right? And then take that same asset, put it into a learning object, beam in a hologram, package that up, put it onto a platform and deliver it, all in a monthly subscription revenue. So we're set for super fast scale. If I drill down a little bit deeper and we start comparing literally apples to apples on our tech, our stack is considerable. What people see is the augmented reality experience.
Right.
What's behind that is a very strong layer of AI for everything from computer vision, machine learning, all for sentiment analysis, all the way to natural language processing. So you can speak to the experience and it'll adapt. And below that is a very, very strong data set for analytics, because we use the analytics to inform the experience, to be programmatic, and to use machine learning to best understand how to shape the experience, getting those viewer inputs.
Now, springboarding off of normalizing the AR experience, there's some partners that you have, there's some users, big names like IKEA, Gatwick Airport, healthcare field. Can you speak a little bit to that?
Sure. So, as I was mentioning earlier, when we're at the tip of the spear on where I'll call it the market is from an awareness and a consideration point of view around AR. Retailers and brands are huge with this. So, we've got folks from Challenger, IBM Weather, and others all talking or building AR products on our platform. When we look at where we can place the technology, we've got 3 gross categories, and we have partnerships as well as subscribers in that. One is for retail, which the central theme there is simply how do you convert a shopper to a buyer? And I can go in, almost ad nauseum as to where AR has an absolute conversion point for that. The second one is AR for learning. Without a doubt, if we could just beam in a subject matter expert like yourself and you can teach somebody how to do an interview, something as simple as that in real time. It's so important to have you physically there, your holographic physical equivalent there in person though, right? To deliver that information. And then of course we've got it in entertainment as well.
On that note, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will discuss a little bit about Budweiser.
Broadcasting from the heart of Toronto's financial district at the top of First Canadian Place, CSE TV is your trusted source for what's happening in capital markets. Our #Finance podcast series gets you exclusive long-form interview content with visionary entrepreneurs and CEOs of companies in the news. The CSE's On the Street segments get you up close and personal with many of our listed companies. And don't forget that you can find the video version of this and all our media on our CSE TV channel on YouTube. For instant notifications, subscribe to CSE TV now.
Welcome back to #Finance. I'm here with Paul Duffy, president of NexTech Solutions. So, where we left off was with beer, which we all know and love. Tell us about the relationship you have, not personally, your company has with Budweiser.
Sure, happy to. Our COO, Ruben Tosman, actually kicked this one off. It was pretty exciting. So, we, in addition to having the embed codes, we have an app, and it's called ARitizing. Shocker. So we showed that to Budweiser, and they said, this is interesting because really the use case for them is the ability to memorialize and social share their brand anywhere and everywhere. It just helps muscle up their identity. And, very, it's a global brand. I mean, everybody knows Budweiser. Yeah. So here in Toronto, they have the Bud Stage, and they were going through a 25-year anniversary. And they said, wouldn't it be cool if we could ARitize a can that we have built specifically for this particular moment in time? And so it was very interesting. We took a number of bands that had performed iconic performances there, concert shows, and a couple that are coming up this season. They were literally imprinted onto the can. When you're there, you buy the can. And then when you've got the can, it's amazing. You literally put it up to the ARitized app, you click, and poof, you get this whole AR experience while you're at the concert.
Concert within a concert.
Yeah, and then, of course, we have all the gimmicks in it. I didn't say gimmicks, all the capability to do a social share, to do pictures, to take it with you and your buddies, click, that kind of stuff.
Wow.
So as a, way to activate a brand, to memorialize it, to share the moment, it's fantastic. And so we're running a number of contests with them through till the end of September, basically, for the Bud Stage. Yeah.
Now, I'm going to jump to word association. What do these three categories have in common? Pet supplements, vacuum cleaner markets, and baby formulas.
Well, the first two are owned by NexTech, so I'll give you and the third is pending. So the vacuum cleaner market, vacuumcleanermarket.com, is a very successful online reseller, direct-to-consumer, for Miele, Dyson, and other types of vacuums. And it sounds crazy, but they started using our technology. They ARitized a bunch of their vacuums. And when you think about the customer journey to purchase a vacuum, which is $1,000 a pop, right?
Right.
You want to see that thing in your room. You want to see if it fits in your closet. You want to see what the color looks like. You want to see what the accessories are. You want to know how to unpack it out of the box. All the things that AR is perfect for. So we started. And you're not going to believe this, but probably, and again, I think it's on our website. You can see the hard data. Within the first 30 days of ARitizing, I'll call it their top 10 products. Google, with their third-party ranking of page value, had actually doubled the page value on every page that had our AR on it against every page that didn't on this site.
Wow.
And we were selling more, we still do today, more products in 5 days than they would sell in the previous 30 days. It had increased the sales and the conversions that high. And, of course, as a young company and we're scaling, we looked at it and we thought, let's acquire that. Let's buy that business. We've put our tech into it. We've ARitized it. It's working. It gives us a sandbox to study the data. It allows us, and you got to understand, it's a 40-year-old company. It's you can go on Amazon. It does several $100,000 a month, US of vacuum cleaner sales. Great high margin, good business, and we love it. And so we began implementing AR across all the product lines. It also gave us a platform and an entry point into the home. Vacuum cleaner is a good start. And so that's working very, very well. And it's scaling, does great. We're selling, probably 10, 15, 20 vacuums a day minimum, and it goes up from there. Yeah, it's crazy. And then all the accessories on top. It's several $100,000 a month, right? The pet supplement business was the same thing. It was an e-com site direct to consumer. It was doing, good revenue, good margin. But again, once we ARitize one particular product around a supplement, which is literally you scan it, click, you bring it up, there you've got a vet, you've got a hologram, you've got your dog, you can explain the stuff, the conversions jump. They go from 2 to 3%, which is normal for an e-com company, to 8, 10, 15%. It's huge, right? And so on the same cost basis, so your margin goes up nicely. So as a tech company, we wanted to have our own e-com businesses that fit a very specific persona and use case for our technology and own them, because it gave us that sandbox in the early days to perfect our tech. So that's why our subscribers are coming on so fast and furious right now. We can show them our data. You know, I couldn't go into those companies if we didn't own them, crack open the back end and show them literally this is what's happening. But we can do that now, and we're comfortable doing it. And when our clients or our subscribers see that, they get very comfortable in the early days adopting our technology.
These industries, nobody, and you know, not to downplay them, but they're not traditionally what I'd call like sexy industries. Like,
oh yeah, I mean, who goes out and says, you know, I told my wife, hey, we're picking up a vacuum cleaner company. She just looked at me like, are you on Mars? You know.
But you know what? It works, and it's working. And you have one pending.
Yeah, there's one right now. It's pending. It's the same idea, you know, and it was a bit serendipitous. We didn't plan it this way, but there is a bit of an arc around the persona and the buyer and the customer journey. They're typically female. They have a certain age set, et cetera.
Right.
But that was, you know, for lack of a better term, it was not done by design. It just happenstance. So there's a lot of co-marking, you know, potential there, whether we do it or not. You know, again, we're not the e-com business per se. They're lovely businesses for us in the early days to do two great things. Get hard validated proof about how AR works in the market, which is why I believe we're probably one of the fastest growing AR businesses literally out there today, is a pure play, truthfully. But more importantly, the cash flow coming out of those also helps to fund and finance the development of the technology. So we're not relying so much on venture cap or outside capital to do that. So it's prudent from that perspective.
Now let's go through the in-store shopping experience and how that's changed. You mentioned earlier from the Gartner report how that shopping user experience is going to ramp up. Virtual dressing rooms and going into a supermarket and not opening packages to see the product. This is great news for the retailer. There's less product damage. This is great news for the person trying on air quotes, trying on clothes. Tell us let's talk about that shopping experience.
100%, right? So if you're a brand and you're in a store, at the end of the day, it's all about conversions. You know, I'm shopping, but I need to buy. Or we, as a brand, you want them to buy, right? So there's friction points along the customer journey to that purchase. When you're in store, you're there because, you know, ultimately you want to see the product. And just as you pointed out, a lot of products in a box, right? Yeah. Hard to take it out. So that's a beautiful point solution for AR. You know, again, we ARitize that package. You point your phone, you click a button, or you scan it. It automatically recognizes it, computer visioning, boom. Next thing you know, you've got a brand ambassador hologram talking to you about what's inside the box. You can see what's inside the box. And then if you wish, you can click once, twice, and 3 times and do an exploded view or a walkout, you know, a blow up of the box. Of the product in the box. When it comes to clothing or apparel, is what we refer to it as, you know, it's outstanding what's happening now. With the ability for phones to size you, to recognize you, you can wear shirts. You can put on glasses, right? You can try neckties, earrings. You could do lipstick. I mean, there's a number of applications there that are perfectly suited for an enhancement through augmented reality. Ultimately, what we really want to do when you're in the store is obviously drive you to buy. If you don't buy, we want you to have the tail such that when you leave the store and you go home or you're socializing with your friends, you're able to emulate that in-store experience of seeing the product and placing it, right? And so that has become one of the new battlegrounds, if you would, for retailers now.
Now, in at-home shopping, that at-home shopping experience, you do not have to leave the comfort of your couch.
No.
And, my hesitation with this area is the more that we are connected, the more isolated we are, because growing up, that's what kids used to do. Sounding like, hey, back in my day, we used to go to the mall and hang out, and maybe you actually go shopping, but you interact, you see people. But now when you're just shopping at home and you get to virtually try on everything or virtually open things, there's no need to go to the mall. But maybe that's part of our evolution as a species, and maybe we're
it's a little existential.
Maybe we're getting.
But I'm happy to speak to that in a sense that where you're saying you're almost dehumanizing the socialization of people in a group, right? When they're coming to, in this case, a mall to, sort of socially congregate, right?
Right.
I think really what we're seeing right now is more of a brief window of what I would refer to as a longer term arc, right? So we're in this sort of snapshot time for the next 18 months or so, where, we will ARitize the product, enable you to buy from home in the comfort of your couch or your living room, et cetera, with a very, very immersive experience, right? And I'll just sideline here for a sec. The fundamental difference between AR, product shopping, I'll call it, and watching a video or a picture is that you're able to, when you ARitize a product, create an experience in such a way that you're not actually watching it. What you're really doing, by virtue of the fact that you tap, you place, and you put the product there, you walk into the experience. You become part of it. You move around it. You look in it. You can pinch and zoom and place it. And instead of watching a video that's flat, that's been scripted with a linear, set of messaging, you can literally take a product, orchestrate or choreograph a walkthrough, but you are now in a physically, 3D volumetric space experiencing that product.
And you're dictating that experience.
100%.
And it's not being fed to you.
That's right.
What they want.
That's right. It's on your time, your dime, and it's your permission, right? So, but with that, let me go back to the question of, human. So at this point in time, that's a very, and I'll just say because of the technologies like your phone, that's a somewhat limiting experience. I'll say one to the product, right? There will come a time, though, when the glasses themselves, and they probably won't be much different than this in form function, will make available the technologies to socially congregate in AR. And that's something that I do believe we will see over the next 5 years. I'm not going to say it will be as enriching in the early days as you would get on a personal level at a mall. I don't think that experience will ever get, essentially replicated. That will become just an experience. I went to the mall. It was a lot of fun, right? I met Barrington there and away we went, right? But the ability to socially build out not just shopping, but learning and entertainment in that level is going to happen. And you will see it in the next 5 years. It's going to be a very exciting time.
Well, I can, let's travel back to
Sure.
2016 with a little thing called Pokemon Go that dictated my summer with my kids and my family and my nieces, and walking around town trying to chase imaginary characters. And if you want to jump to a spoiler alert on Spider-Man Far From Home, if you haven't seen the movie, stop listening now and pick up in another minute. But the main character, Mysterio, uses augmented reality to, basically ruin Peter Parker's vacation far from home. But, it shows even the way that villains in movies have progressed, because back in the day, Mysterio was a villainous, ex-stagehand who used props and ropes and levers to do his dastardly deeds, but now he's using augmented reality.
Sure.
Can you speak a little bit to the entertainment side?
Oh, I'd love to. Yeah. I could go on all day about that. I love that. Yeah. Well, there's no question. I mentioned earlier, we've got retail, we've got learning, and then we've got entertainment. So, in that space, we do a number of amazing things. And we've been fortunate enough to have a gentleman named Barry Sandrew join us in this capacity. And Barry is formerly the head of Legend and Legend 3D Films. He is known for the gentleman who owns the patents on 2D and 3D film conversion, colorization, deep experience, 30 plus years in the industry. And in Hollywood, he's a bit of a namesake. Right. So I'm working directly with Barry on some very exciting entertainment experiences. We have technologies forthcoming that, without disclosing too much, enable this full volumetric experience in any location. At level and vitality and, basically a 4K experience. So visually they're stunning. They're volumetric. And in the world of entertainment, unlike Pokemon Go, which is a journey around a game, which is awesome at all levels, What we're looking to do is develop episodic content that can then be placed into locations. Yes, it's staggering. And we call it AR Studios. It's in Hollywood. We've launched it. We're working with Barry and a crew now to pull it all together. We are going to launch our early pilots at the back end of the year, and we have a very aggressive slate of what we want to do with it through 2020. I love the entertainment space. I have history in that. I love holograms. I love that intersection. The fact that we're ARitizing into that domain for me is a wonderful arc that we'll continue to develop and push. And we've got some unbelievable technology partners in that space right now. And when we can disclose them, that is worth an episode on its own when you see where we're headed.
Well, I will hold you to it. Now we're going to just take a look behind the darker side of AR. There's been cases of personal and property damage. People following their augmented reality, walking into traffic, or actually using their phone while driving to try and capture some of these images. There's also the elimination of other retailers in that augmented reality that people don't want to see. So I want to see brand X, but I don't want to see Y and Z in it. So it's actually a detriment to other companies.
Yeah.
And there's also the tipping point of people not really wanting to come back from the augmented reality experience. They want their whole world to be that, and there's a fear of overdependence and almost oversaturation with the AR.
Sure. Happy to talk to that. Yeah. So a couple of things. So I think as we mentioned that arc we were talking about, I think if I look at sort of where the tech is headed, in the early days, at the moment, the phone is definitely, I'll call it the high ground for delivery of AR. It's termed mobile AR, right? You look at it through your phone.
Right.
So there's no question if you're preoccupied and you're using your phone in that capacity, accidents will happen. And just as you were saying earlier, things like Pokemon Go, they're very, I wouldn't say addictive, but they're forthcoming enough that you don't want to depart from the experience. You enjoy it so much, and you're doing it in areas you probably shouldn't be doing it in that capacity, so damage of properties, etc. The fact that I was explaining earlier about how you don't watch AR, you experience it, is really the central issue. It's the root, right? Mm-hmm. And it has a good and a bad, right? The bad being you're too immersed and you block everything out, accidents happen, right? So we need to be cognizant of creators in that environment, specifically about that. So I think you'll see more and more efforts being made there. It's not a huge issue to begin with, but there are issues, right? I think the fact that people will surrender full-time and permanently to an augmented reality space, today I think we can say, that's a little alarming. I think it's unlikely. But my personal feeling is that within the next generation, if we go back to the top of the interview here, our mission is to ARitize essentially the planet. There will not be a space on the planet that does not have an AR layer to it. And we're not the only ones, chest pounding on this. There's a lot of businesses, big ones doing this. So, for good or bad, the reality of it is the world will become augmented in that context. And so you will never leave. You know what I mean? But I'm talking a decade or more out, right? So in the interim, it's all about, both at a social, economic level, making sure that it's just being done prudently, right?
So we're getting a little short on time. So I just wanted a couple last points. One, your stock exchange experience, and we know that you're getting offers from other exchanges. Would you speak a little bit?
Oh,
to
sure.
that?
Well, we love the CSE. Truthfully, we came out in October. It's a busy exchange, which is great to see, right? And so when we got on it, we listed. It's gone pretty darn smooth. We've had a few, knocks to look at others. Sure. The reality of it is we're a growing business, right? And as businesses grow, there's a requirement for capital.
And that reality is not augmented.
Yeah, exactly. But, if and when the time comes, then, we would sit down and we would look at that. But the truth of it is we've had nothing but a pleasure being on the CSE. It's I can't really, probably the best way to say it is when you're building and scaling a business, there's so much stuff that's top of mind because it's usually either super problematic or super opportunity. The stuff that's working and is working well doesn't get on your radar. You know what I mean? You're like, hey, we set it up, we're going, it's successful. Don't break it. Leave it alone. Let it thrive, right? And that's the CSE to us. So
let's final thought with our listeners and investors. What do you use AR for? What goes on? What's going on behind the scenes with you?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Well, this is so number one, and this is going to sound corny and almost set up, but we use AR to shop. I mean, if you look at our subscriber list, right? There's a lot of stuff up there that's the common person uses, and we sit at home, we're checking it out, right? My kids use it for buying their shoes. They literally run like buckets of running shoes, right? Vacuums. My wife. I mean, to the point she couldn't believe. What do we do? I go, try it. Watch it. Oh. So I have a flashy new Miele vacuum. You know what I mean? It's yellow.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but so we use it much the same way that we're selling it to our subscribers, which I think is useful. And I'm not alone. There's, I would say, virtually to a person in our business, everybody's doing that.
Oh, yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to personally thank you for taking the time. This has been another episode of #Finance.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm here with Paul Duffy, president of NexTech Solutions. My name's Barrington Miller. Thank you, and we'll see you in another reality.
Thank you, Barrington.
Take care.
True pleasure.
Thanks.
Hi, it's Grace from the CSC reminding you to make sure to follow us on social media for the latest updates on our listed companies as well as new listing alerts. For more in-depth content, be sure to pick up our free quarterly magazine, Public Entrepreneur, available online at thecsc.com.